My wife took me to the ER one day in 2012 because she thought I was having a heart attack. I was really, really sick, and I felt so sick that I felt like I wanted to die. It was bad. But the doctors in the ER soon found that it wasn't my heart causing all of my health problems. I was suddenly severely hypothyroid. Well, taking care of hypothyroidism is a whole other story. Save that for another video. But during this health crisis, I also lost my memory. Doctors suspected it was early onset Alzheimer's. 2 different neurologists tested me, but it wasn't that. But my wife had read a story about Dr. Mary Newport and how she had given her husband who had Alzheimer's MCT oil and coconut oil. And she was able to eliminate most of her husband's Alzheimer's symptoms for many years. That was my introduction to MCT oil and coconut oil, and they have been in my daily nootropic stack ever since. I'll talk more about Dr. Mary Newport later in this video. Hi, I'm David Toman, author of Nootropics Expert and this YouTube channel. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why this video is about both coconut oil and MCT oil. Isn't MCT oil better as a nootropic? Well, in some ways, MCT oil may be better, but do not discount coconut oil, because coconut oil has some powerful nootropic properties on its own. In fact, there are over 3,500 peer-reviewed clinical studies published on PubMed on coconut oil. Did you get that? The studies are on coconut oil and not MCT oil. In this video, you'll learn the difference between the two. You'll learn about ketone bodies and how coconut oil works in your brain, how both coconut oil and MCT oil feel when you take either as a nootropic. You'll learn how to use MCT oil to prevent seizures, especially if you're dealing with epilepsy. You'll also find out how coconut oil can help prevent Alzheimer's and is anti-stress, and you'll learn which type of coconut oil and MCT oil to buy. Now, before we get started, please hit the subscribe button and share this video. If you can't watch the entire video now, and you should because it's that important, then check the watch later box and hit the bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And you can now become a member of this channel and get some really cool perks. Just click the join button to learn more. All right, let's learn more about the difference between coconut oil and MCT oil. I think you'll enjoy this. Let's get started. Coconut oil is extracted from the seed or fruit of the coconut palm. For nootropic use, do not confuse coconut oil with palm oil, which is extracted from the fleshy fruit of the oil palm. That's 2 entirely different trees. Coconut oil consists of 92% saturated fatty acids and 6% monounsaturated fatty acids and 2% polyunsaturated fatty acids. About 60% of the fatty acids in coconut oil are medium-chain fatty acids, or MCTs. Yes, I said 60% MCTs in coconut oil, contrary to what Dr. Berg claimed in a video he did back in 2021. Palm oil contains about 50% saturated fatty acids, 40% monounsaturated fatty acids, and 10% polyunsaturated fatty acids. It contains less than 0.5% MCTs. The coconut palm originates from Southeast Asia and the islands between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. It is thought that the fruit of the coconut palm was brought to India and East Africa and then introduced to West Africa, the Americas, and other tropical regions of the world. The coconut tree is the most naturally widespread fruit plant on Earth. In India, it's called Kalpa Vriksha, the tree which provides all the necessities of life, which roughly translate to the tree of life. All parts of the fruit of the coconut tree can be used. The husk fiber is raw material for the production of carpets, car seats, and used as fertilizer. The stalk and leaves of the plant are used in construction and for producing sugar, vinegar, and alcohol. Unrefined coconut oil is a potent antioxidant, anti-tumor, antibacterial, antiviral, and anti-fungal. Coconut oil has been used for treating Alzheimer's, for preventing heart disease and high blood pressure, helping cure urinary tract and kidney infections, reduces arthritis inflammation, it prevents cancer, it boosts your immune system, it helps with gallbladder disease and pancreatitis. And coconut oil improves skin health, prevents gum disease and tooth decay, prevents osteoporosis, improves type 2 diabetes, assists with weight loss, helps build muscles, benefits hair health, helps get rid of candida and yeast infections, is anti-aging, and it balances hormones. As a nootropic, coconut oil helps improve cognition and memory, and it boosts energy and endurance. Next, I'll talk about the difference between coconut oil and MCT oil, so stay with me. Unrefined coconut oil is composed primarily of saturated fatty acids. Saturated fats consist of fatty acids where carbon chain is saturated with hydrogen fatty acids and chain-like molecules of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen linked in groups of 3 to a backbone of glycerol. When you consume coconut oil, the fatty acids separate from their glycerol backbone during the digestion process. When you eat fat, it's digested and it makes its way through your intestinal wall. Most of this digestion occurs in the upper part of the intestine, using digestive enzymes which act on fat or triglycerides that have been emulsified with the aid of bile acids. The duration of fat digestion and absorption depends on the length of the fatty acid chain. Fatty acid chains are classified as long-chain fatty acids, medium-chain fatty acids, and short-chain fatty acids. Each of these fatty acid subgroups are broken down further. Short chain is C2 to C6, medium chain is C8 to C12, and long chain is C14 to C24 fatty acids. Long chain fatty acids are transported by carriers in the lymph system and end up in your liver or other tissues. Once they enter the cells, they combine with coenzyme A to form acetyl-CoA chains. These acetyl-CoA chains are transferred into mitochondria within cells where they are broken down into acetyl-CoA units. This process is called B-oxidation. But the medium-chain fatty acids from coconut oil skip the lymph system and go straight to your liver, which is important and which we'll cover in a minute. The acetyl-CoA produced by B-oxidation enters the citric acid cycle in mitochondria. The energy released in this cycle is captured as adenosine triphosphate molecules. This process of adenosine triphosphate generation is disrupted during fasting, starvation, a low-carbohydrate diet, strenuous exercise, or uncontrolled type 1 diabetes. In this case, acetyl-CoA is diverted to form acetoacetate, beta-hydroxybutyrate, and their breakdown product acetone, which are known as ketone bodies. These ketones are released by your liver into your bloodstream, and all the cells in your body with mitochondria can use these ketones. These ketones are converted into acetyl-CoA, which can be used in the citric acid cycle to produce ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. And unlike free fatty acids, these ketones can cross the blood-brain barrier and are available to help produce adenosine triphosphate in mitochondria. If your cells do not immediately need the energy molecule, these long-chain fatty acids are shunted into and stored in fat tissue. This is nature's way of keeping energy stores in reserve without the fats needing to go through the liver process again. Next, we'll talk about ketones, so please keep watching. Short-chain and medium-chain fatty acids, on the other hand, skip the process I just talked about, and your blood transport system sends them straight to your liver, where they immediately enter the process to begin making ketones. And because they bypass the lymph system, your body does not store these medium-chain fatty acids in fat tissue to use later when energy is low. This direct transport to your liver is how they are able to supply energy more rapidly, similar to carbohydrates. And here's where we get to the significant and uniqueness of coconut oil. It's made up of about 90% saturated fats, and nearly 60% of the fats in coconut oil are medium-chain fatty acids, or MCTs. Now, did you get that? Not 15% like Dr. Bird said back in 2021. Coconut oil is composed of fatty acids caprylic acid, which is C8, capric acid, or C10, lauric acid, C12, myristic acid, C14, palmitic acid, C16, stearic acid, C18, oleic acid, or C18, and 2% of C18 is lineolic acid. Medium-chain fatty acids are also known as medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs. MCTs are produced by hydrolyzing coconut oil and esterifying the fatty acids shorter than lauric acid, or C12, with glycerol. Recently, however, manufacturers have started to produce a type of MCT oil that that contains lauric acid, usually 30%. A tablespoon of this form of MCT oil typically contains 12 grams of medium-chain fatty acids. Recent research, however, has shown that lauric acid, or C12, which is classified as a medium-chain fatty acid, acts more like a long-chain fatty acid because it has a higher propensity to be absorbed via the lymphatic system instead of going straight to your liver. Logic tells us that this delay could imply that it takes longer for lauric acid to convert to ketones than caprylic acid and capric acid, or C8 and C10. Research has shown that using MCT oil produces a large rise in blood ketones that return to baseline levels within about 3 hours. But ingesting straight coconut oil results in a delayed and less prominent rise in ketone bodies. Now, this doesn't make MCT oil containing lauric acid any less of a nootropic. It only means that your energy boost from consuming this type of MCT oil will not be as quick. So the bottom line, MCTs are absorbed intact from your small intestine and do not undergo the normal digestive process. They are directly used in your body to create ketones that help produce energy. MCTs are widely used in infant formulas, nutritional drinks for athletes, and in some cases as an emergency IV solution. Next, I'll tell you in more detail how coconut oil works in your brain, so please stay tuned. Coconut oil boosts brain health and function in several ways, but two in particular stand out. First, coconut oil is an alternative brain cell fuel supply. Your brain depends on glucose as its main source of energy. Making up only 2% of your total body weight, your brain consumes about 20% of your body's glucose-derived energy. Carbohydrates from food are broken down into glucose, which is used as energy or stored as glycogen in your liver and muscle tissue. Glucose metabolism provides fuel for ATP fuel generation, neurons, and other brain cell maintenance, and contributes to neurotransmitter synthesis. When your body and brain are deprived of dietary carbohydrates, your liver becomes the sole provider of glucose to feed your hungry brain. When the glucose runs out, either from dieting, starvation, or age-related disruption in glucose metabolism, you need another fuel source. If left unchecked, it leads to one of several neurodegenerative diseases. The good news is your body has a built-in backup plan. This alternative energy fuel supply are called ketone bodies, which your liver gets from fatty acids in your diet or body fat. These ketones are released by your liver and taken up by your brain, then shuttled into mitochondria to be used in the fuel production process. Now, while you can provide the ketones your brain needs by eating a very high-fat, low-carbohydrate ketogenic diet, it's not necessary. The medium-chain fatty acids in coconut oil can provide these ketones directly to create ATP. And the second way that coconut oil works in your brain is it may help brain disorders. Coconut oil and its components have been shown to help treat a number of neurological diseases. Caprylic acid found in MCTs have been shown to significantly increase mitochondrial oxygen consumption. ALS patients have reported a significant improvement in quality of life while using caprylic acid. Drug-resistant epilepsy patients have found that a ketogenic diet can reduce seizure frequency between 50 and 90%, and MCTs, which are quickly converted to ketones, are an important component of ketogenic diet. Decades of research has implicated a buildup of amyloid beta plaques in Alzheimer's. Recent research has shown that coconut oil decreases mitochondrial dysfunction caused by these plaques, and that neurons are more likely to survive in the presence of coconut oil. Now let's dig deeper into the benefits of adding coconut oil or MCT oil to your nootropic stack. That's next. Coconut oil is not just a good, healthy fat that boosts the bioavailability of fat-soluble nootropics in your stack. It's got exceptional healing properties as well. But first, a reminder that your brain is nearly 60% fat. Recent research has shown that fatty acids are among the most crucial molecules for the fully optimized brain. Essential fatty acids are required for the maintenance of peak brain health, but it cannot be synthesized in your body and it must be obtained from your diet. Coconut oil is composed of up to 60% medium-chain fatty acids, or MCTs, with caprylic acid and capric acid comprising 21% of these MCTs in unrefined coconut oil. MCTs are converted to ketones in your liver, which are then used as an alternative fuel supply for mitochondria in your brain. But caprylic acid also crosses the blood-brain barrier, and we have evidence showing that glial cells, in particular astrocytes, are also able to metabolize MCTs to ketones, which are then shuttled into neurons for alternative energy. Coconut oil is also anti-ulcer, anti-fungal. It helps burn belly fat. It heals wounds. It's anti-inflammatory. It helps reduce oxidative stress to boost testosterone. It reduces a swollen prostate. It improves the LDL to HDL ratio. It improves bone health and can be used as a sunscreen. Next, I'll tell you how coconut oil or MCT oil feels when you take it as a supplement. So stay right here because this is important. I personally use either a tablespoon of unrefined coconut oil or MCT oil each time I take my nootropic stack. I have noticed that if I do not take my tablespoon of coconut oil, my nootropic stack does not work nearly as well. Coconut and MCT oil is needed for the absorption of the fat-soluble nootropics in your stack. You know how some labels say to take it with a meal? That's what they mean. Take it with a healthy fat to make sure that your body absorbs that supplement and uses it, and it doesn't just end up in the toilet. Coconut and MCT oil also provide additional nootropic benefits because it provides ketones your mitochondria can use for making ATP, increasing your energy levels. The majority of the reviews for coconut oil talk about its use for weight loss, but reports for MCT oil are primarily about the benefits for brain health. Neurohackers report that MCT oil increases alertness and focus. Others say that their brain is clear and that they feel energized throughout the day. Some say that they feel significant improvement in mood. Appetite is suppressed and their happiness level is elevated for about 4 hours. Using a tablespoon of unrefined coconut oil or MCT oil 2 or 3 times per day should provide you with a steady flow of energy. A study in 1986 found an association with MCT levels in children suffering from seizures, and higher blood levels of MCT correlated with fewer seizures. This 1986 study was the inspiration that launched multiple studies on using MCT oil for treating seizures and symptoms of epilepsy. A study in 2013 found that capric acid is C10 rather than caprylic acid is C8 was the main player in seizure control. One of the main ways of controlling seizures in epilepsy is a ketogenic diet. Anyone who has tried to stay with a strict diet for any length of time knows how difficult it is, especially with kids. So in 2014, researchers made a significant discovery that could simplify the lives of anyone dealing with seizures, especially with kids. The study found that it was capric acid, or C10, that increased the number of mitochondria and mitochondrial activity, which elevated the seizure threshold. In other words, more C10 and you have less seizures. The researchers concluded, and I quote, "This finding could be a significant benefit to epilepsy patients who are currently on a strict ketogenic diet. Evidence that C10 on its own can modulate mitochondrial number raises the possibility that a simplified and less stringent C10-based diet could be developed." Research has shown the potential antidepressant effects of medium-chain fatty acids found in food, but scientists in Malaysia wanted to find out if unrefined coconut oil provided a similar benefit. The aim of this study was to determine the anti-stress and antioxidant effects of unrefined coconut oil. The research team performed several stress tests on groups of mice. Unrefined coconut oil was compared to the popular prescription anti-anxiety med Valium. The scientists found that the mice using unrefined coconut oil had higher brain antioxidant and serotonin levels and reduced adrenal gland weight. Cholesterol, triglycerides, glucose, and cortisol levels were also lower. The researchers concluded that unrefined coconut oil had potential as an anti-stress functional oil. Glucose is your brain's primary source of energy, but in Alzheimer's disease, there appears to be a significant decrease in the brain's ability to use glucose for energy. We now have scientific evidence that suggests ketone bodies are an effective alternative brain energy source. So in 2004, researchers conducted a study with Alzheimer's patients in MCT oil. This now famous study, 20 subjects with Alzheimer's disease or mild cognitive impairment consumed a drink containing MCTs or a placebo. Significant increases in ketone body levels were observed within 90 minutes of MCT oil treatment, and testing showed significant improvements in cognition and memory in all subjects using MCTs compared to placebo. Dr. Mary Newport brought widespread attention to the use of coconut oil and MCT oil for treating Alzheimer's. She gave her husband, who had early onset Alzheimer's, MCT oil and coconut oil, and she reported a reprieve from Alzheimer's symptoms and improved quality of life for several years. Dr. Newport documented her work and success with coconut oil in her book called Alzheimer's Disease: What If There Was a Cure? The Story of Ketones. I have a link to her book on Amazon down in the notes section right below this video if you're interested in reading it. A study conducted at Mount Sinai Medical Center in Aventura, Florida, worked with 55 patients with mild to moderate Alzheimer's. The patients used caprylic acid, or C8, daily for up to 15 months. The study found that 80% of the patients who added caprylic acid, or C8, to their standard medical treatment improved. Caregivers reported significant improvements in memory and their ability to carry out daily activities. Other studies have shown that coconut oil helps prevent the buildup of amyloid beta plaques that have been implicated in Alzheimer's. The recommended dosage of unrefined coconut or MCT oil for nootropic benefit is 1 tablespoon 2 or 3 times per day. If you are using coconut or MCT oil purely for enhanced energy, using it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach is best, because it's when your body will rely on ketones for energy. The ketones are provided by the coconut or MCT oil. Coconut and MCT oil are non-toxic and very safe at recommended doses. The side effects include upset stomach and diarrhea, which will likely happen if you use too much the first time. If you experience diarrhea when first trying coconut or MCT oil, reduce your dose to 1 teaspoon, 1 to 2 times per day. Coconut oil is available as refined and unrefined. Here's why you should avoid refined coconut oil. Refined coconut oil is made from copra, which is dried coconut flesh. Oil is extracted from the copra under high heat. Once it is expelled, it is refined, bleached, and deodorized to make it fit for human consumption. The refining process includes using a caustic soda solution to remove some of the free fatty acids to make it edible. And so it doesn't smell bad. The oil is then deodorized using hot steam. This destructive process increases the shelf life of the finished product and alters the fatty acids, hydrogenated, which are damaging to your body and brain. Virgin and extra virgin coconut oil is the same thing as unrefined coconut oil. The oil is extracted from fresh coconut flesh. Only the white kernel is used. Unrefined coconut oil is extracted using a screw press, which squeezes the oil from the white flesh. It's called expeller pressed. Or with direct micro-expelling, where the coconut flesh is finely grated and naturally dried for about 30 minutes before being loaded into a manually operated stainless steel cylinder, which presses out the fresh oil. Another acceptable method for creating unrefined coconut oil is using a centrifuge. Freshly grated coconut flesh is soaked in hot water to make coconut milk. The coconut milk then passes through a centrifuge to separate the oil from the milk. There are 2 types of MCT oil. Fractionated coconut oil contains only caprylic acid, or C8, and capric acid, or C10. MCT oil with lauric acid is a recent addition to the market and is a combination of caprylic acid, capric acid, C8 and C10 with lauric acid, C12. My favorite MCT oil is Performance Lab MCT Energy Oil. It's derived from 100% organic non-GMO coconuts using only C8 and C10 and extracted using hexane-free technology and triple distilled for purity. I have a link to Performance Lab MCT Energy Oil below in the notes section below this video if you'd like to try it. For nootropic use, you can use either unrefined coconut oil or MCT oil. So that's my report on Coconut Oil MCT Oil. You'll find a link below this video that takes you to the full transcript for this video over on my website, Nootropics Expert. I also do consultations, so if you're going crazy trying to figure this stuff out on your own, or you've tried a bunch of supplements and they're just not working for you as good as you'd like, schedule an hour with me and I'll work with you and get you straightened out, building a nootropic stack especially tailored for you. You'll find a link to my calendar down below in the notes section below this video. And don't forget to download your free copy of Secrets of the Optimized Brain. It's nearly 100 pages and contains details on 92 of the most popular nootropics used in the world today. And my 4-time award-winning book, Head First, the second edition, is 962 pages and is available as hardcover or for paperback or iPad or Kindle. You can get your copy at any major bookseller, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Balboa Press, Apple Books, Walmart, and other stores. You'll find a link to these booksellers below in the notes section below this video. And please consider joining our community here on Nootropics Expert. We're just getting started, so please click the join button below to learn all about the perks you get for joining the Nootropics Expert YouTube channel. And before you go, please hit the subscribe button, share this video, and hit the notification bell so you'll know the next time I upload a new video. And thank you for watching. I'm David Toman, author of Nootropics Expert.